Remember love, remember mercy. On March 2nd, 1982, Kip Ellison committed suicide. He could not stop himself from masturbating. He was 16 years old at the time. Welcome to Nahashon Kimemia Live. Masturbation. Is it good? Is it bad? How does somebody stop masturbating if it's bad? Santana, there's a song by Santana. It's called Nothing at All, right? And he says, I am a victim of my time, a product of my age. I could not choose my direction. He continues saying, I was a holy man, but now I am weak in my conviction. So that's what he says. And that reminded me of Kip's story, right? Kip's mother died when he was 6 years old. So was he a victim of his time? Was he a product of an age where we accept certain things as okay? His grandmother advised him to join the Mormon church when he was 11 years old. And the church should provide a stable platform for you to overcome some things. But it seems that he was weak in his conviction. And the church was very strong on this matter. They called it the law of chastity. It's practiced within the Mormon church all over. And it says sexual practices must only be between a man and his wife. No sexual practice outside of that arrangement. And for you to be baptized, for you to receive temple recommend. I'm not sure what temple recommend is, but I think it's something like the Eucharist in the Catholic Church. For you to take an oath in an endowment ceremony, you have to practice this law of chastity. And masturbation was outside the law of this chastity. Now, when you walk around the Church of Latter-day Saints, you can actually see them. They wear black and white. They have black ties, suits all the time. And their churches are very quiet. They have very well manicured lawns. And for you to be a full-time missionary, you have to take this oath. For you to enter into a marriage setting within that church, you have to take this oath. But for you to take this oath, for you to receive a temple recommend, for you to be baptized, you have to abide by the law of chastity. And masturbation is outside that law. So it was a hard time for Kip. And it reminds me of another song, a song by Babyface. It's called No One Knows It But Me. And in that song he says, I am dying inside. Like a clown I put on a show. The pain is real, even if nobody knows. And I'm crying inside. So I wanted to give this example because of the next set of circumstances, right? When Kip was usually outgoing by nature, everybody in school, they knew him as a leader. And they say that he had very good looks. So it seems being outgoing, having good looks, they're not enough for people to overcome this vice. There is something more that leads them towards masturbation. And only a few people knew that he was dying inside. In fact, I think he was the only person that knew. And perhaps the person he confided to in church. He used to spend hours alone in the room. But outside, he's outgoing. He used to be quiet. He used to be reflective at times. But to most people, he was outgoing. He had everything going for him, including looks. But there was something that was a bit of a problem. And I'll go to another song. Don't worry, I'll be done with the songs after this one. This one is called Ghetto Religion. And it's by R. Kelly and Wyclef Jean. And in this lyrics, R. Kelly, ironically, if you have watched Surviving R. Kelly, he says that he's searching for restoration. He's trying to make the church his family. And that was his story, and that was his song. So that's the same thing that was happening to Kip Ellison. He was searching for restoration. His mother died, impact on him. He's going to the church is telling him that masturbation is a sin. And nobody knows the struggle he's going through. He has to keep it to himself. And he's trying to make the church his family. And everybody says that about him. They say that he loved the Mormon church, that he was devoted to those teachings, including the law of chastity. His father was not a Mormon, but he believed that the church played a role as a substitute mother. That when Kip lost his mother, the church became his mother. So now let me ask you a question. What happens to you when your mother condemns you to hell? When your mother tells you that if you keep doing this thing, your path is only one way, and it's one way to hell. And within the church, we can never accept you if you keep doing that. So you face rejection. And the church was, according to the father's substitute mother. So now where does he go? I'm saying this because I think we need to remember love, to remember mercy. That some of us will face certain situations and it's hard to overcome our own habits. Love is patient, love is kind, love is forgiving. All of those things that Paul said. Be patient with somebody. Take your time when you're talking to them about certain things. And perhaps we might prevent a suicide in future or something of that sort. Do not lie to them. Just tell them the truth. Do it kindly and then be patient with them as they try and overcome something. So this topic was suggested by someone called CM. I won't mention his name because guys would think that he's facing this kind of issue. So that's why he suggested this topic. So that's why I won't mention his name. Share this video. Do not hide a light where there is darkness. So if these videos provide some kind of enlightenment, share it. Thank you to all my 812 subscribers. Please subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Buy a sweater. It's 500 bob only. So let's go back. What is masturbation? It is the deliberate act of stimulating your genitals. Plain and simple. The purpose of this act, of that stimulation, is to derive pleasure, sexual pleasure. Guess where I got this definition? From the Catechism of the Catholic Church. Yes, the church is studying this issue and it has studied it for a long time. Why? Because it affects so many people and it has a profound impact on the person and on the spouse and then in general within society. But many people will say when the church speaks that it's being religious, it's being holier than thou. So let's leave the church. I've given this definition, let's stop at that. Let's go to the researchers. Let's go to the science. So I will begin with Brody and Costa. And they wrote a journal after they did their research. The journal was in the journal, they wrote an article that appeared in the Journal of Sexual Medicine in 2009. And it gave the impact of masturbation. And I want to start with the men. What happens when men masturbate? So this is what the researchers found. That there are men who have erectile dysfunction. Not as a result of masturbation, but because perhaps of other things. But if those men masturbate, then this is what will happen to them. Likely to happen to them, not that it happens in all the cases. It may lead to prostate abnormalities. And these abnormalities, they include what? Swelling of the prostate and of seminal aberrations. It will lead to reduced sperm count. It will diminish sperm motility and sperm quality. So this will happen when men with erectile dysfunction masturbate. What happens to normal males when they masturbate? Is there an impact on them? So Brody and Costa, in the journal, in an article published in the Journal of Medicine, they found this impact. Those men are likely to experience difficulties in attaining a sexual climax. They will have reduced sensitivity and they will suffer from premature ejaculation, PE. So those are the impacts that they say, right? Broder and Costa found in men who masturbate. There's men who have erectile dysfunction, and then there's men who do not have it. Different kinds of impact. Still, as you can see, very serious information, right? And this is one thing I wanted to note, right? When it came to that prostate cancer, it's an increase in men between 20 years, 30 years, and their 40s, right? So that's something that I'll add on that prostate cancer. Let's go to the women. What did Broder and Costa find in their article published in the Journal of Medicine in 2009? Not a religious thing. So this is what Costa and Brodia found, right? More in this specific journal. Actually, this is a journal that they published in 2011, because this one focused on women specifically, and it focused on the use of toys. And this is what they found. At first, they had there's the definition of two things I need to mention. They call it insecure attachment styles. The first one, anxious attachment, and in this case, it's a preoccupation about abandonment. You are in a relationship, but every time you are afraid, he'll leave me, he'll leave me, he'll leave me. And that's everything that goes through your mind. And then there's avoidant attachment. In this case, it's the avoidance of closeness in a relationship. You don't want to get too close, or you can't get too close, because there's a problem. You are insecure in yourself. And Costa and Brodo in 2009, in 2011, in the Journal of Sexual Medicine, this is what they found. That women who use toys, and they also found that in women who prefer the backdoor method, right? They developed insecure attachments. In other words, they developed avoidant and anxious attachments. They were always preoccupied about being abandoned. They were always afraid of being close in a relationship, right? And I just wanted to mention something here. When it came to the Vera Sidika case and all those other, that case and Otile Brown. And Vera, she admitted that she used to masturbate. And as you can see from her reaction after Otile left her, it shows that somebody was insecure in that kind of relationship. Things were not that good. And it seems that though they could not develop a bond, a closeness to keep them together. In my opinion, Vera had anxious attachment. She couldn't get close to somebody in a relationship. She also had avoidant attachment. She always had the preoccupation with Otile is going to leave, is going to leave. And she had a plan when he leaves, how she'll shame him and all of those things. I'm not saying that Otile was perfect. I'm just saying that at times, women might be blaming men for failing to do this or failing to do that, and they might develop certain practices, when in essence, those practices are the ones contributing to the problems. So perhaps women should look at the problems that they have, and men should look at the problems that they have. Again, men might have those problems because they develop certain habits. And when they come together, it leads to disaster. So let's go to another study. This one was done in China. And in China, this is what they found, right? That habitual masturbation, it can result in persistent dysfunctions. Persistent, know that word. One, it can lead to the lack of arousal. It can decrease sensitivity from sexual stimulation. In other words, it's like somebody's a log in the house, a timber log. No sensitivity, no arousal, just anyway. Then there's a lower proneness to, like when it comes to women, like they can. There's a okay. Let me just say how it is. There's a lower the proneness to vaginal climax, right? So that's what happens. They can't reach that level very as they used to, because they have spoiled everything, and then it leads to dryness, and then there's pain during sex. So many effects, many effects. And the funny thing is, some of these effects might be blamed on the men, and men might be blaming some of these effects on the women. Research is important. So in another research, Journal of Medicine, again 2010, this is what they found: that high frequency of masturbation, right, it leads to certain immature psychological defenses. Immature psychological defenses, right? And these defenses are characterized by mechanisms that involve the distortion of reality and the impairment of awareness. Like when you're defending yourself against something, or you can't reason properly, you're not truly aware of what is happening in your environment. In Kenya, you might say, unakuwa na ujinga mingi. And these mechanisms, these psychological defenses that characterized by certain mechanisms, now these mechanisms, they include regression and disassociation, where you just separate. You, instead of sitting down, speaking about something, talking it over, and coming up with a solution, you just disassociate. And they say it stunts the personal development of the individual. This is in the Journal of Sexual Medicine, 2010. So everybody might be thinking that they are okay, that, you know, this act is okay, this practice is okay. But as you can see from the research, it shows that it is not okay. It leads to physical, it leads to psychological impacts. So perhaps you're not suffering from those physical impacts, but you could be suffering from the psychological ones. Look at the relationships around you. Do you avoid being close to somebody, right? Are you constantly afraid of being abandoned? For the men, do you suffer from PE? Do you suffer from, let's say, your chances of, okay, for the men it might come in future, like prostate cancer and all of those things. But it's a big problem, and we need to check on it so that we can develop ourselves. Remember, something like reduced sperm count, it's not easy to diagnose, but it's an impact that's possibly there, likely to lead there. So again, now there's the general impact. Let me go to the general impact on men and women, right? Masturbation is negatively related with the following things, right? With love, with intimacy, with passion, and with mental satisfaction. That when you practice this act too much, the love that is in you, it reduces. The level of intimacy, again, the attachment that you can have to somebody, it reduces. The passion that you have for life or for your partner, it reduces. And your mental satisfaction in life, it reduces as well. The quality of your intimate relationship will suffer. And that's a problem. So what happens? Again, so that's that's negative correlation. It's negatively correlated with something, right? If you do this a lot, then it will lead to a reduction of this, right? So now let's go to the positive correlation, the positive related with. Like if you practice that a lot, then this will increase a lot. So what will increase a lot? This is what the research has found. That the degree of depression and the degree of loneliness, it will increase. It will ultimately lead to the deterioration of one's mental well-being. Your well-being will deteriorate. It will increase. That deterioration will increase. So that's one of the things that the research has found. So what's the possible explanation for these correlations, for these relations with this practice? This is now an opinion. This is not sort of like from the research. And this opinion says that masturbation is an act which is indicative of self-centeredness. That you want your own pleasure. You believe that you should have this level of pleasure. You believe that you should have this pleasure this many times. It's all about you. And when you are self-centered, what happens? It becomes an hindrance for your ability to grow, to connect with others, and to love others. And that's like Kraft now says, right? A guy called Kraft, a researcher, that it's like having an affair with yourself. And what does an affair do? Like you're in a relationship, but you're having an affair. It draws focus from that relationship and into the affair. You will fail to focus and enrich others and enrich yourself within that relationship with that other person. Instead, you'll focus on yourself, on that affair with yourself, and you'll become lonely and empty. So that's what they say. Funny thing is, somebody benefits from this kind of misery that comes through people. Somebody benefits from this loneliness that comes through people. Somebody benefits from all these physical impairments that result from this practice. Remember love, remember mercy. The person who benefits from all of these things, do they have love in their heart? Do they have mercy for the people who are going through these things or will go through these things? So who benefits? Let's talk about that for a minute, right? And this is what I found. The porn industry, the adult entertainment industry, it is worth $97 billion worldwide. And that's according to Cassia Wasik. He's an assistant professor at New Mexico State University, professor of psychology. In the US alone, it's worth 10 billion to 12 billion. This industry is big. And when people watch most of these videos, what do? Actually, people actually look for these videos so that they can do something. What is that? And as much as you watch them, as much as you look at them, as much as you have an affair with yourself while watching them, somebody is raking in the money. Let me show you how big this thing is. NBA itself, the National Basketball Association in the US, it's worth $7.4 billion. Hollywood is worth $11.1 billion. Netflix worth $11.7 billion. NFL is worth $14 billion. So you can imagine how big the porn industry is. Because another estimate says that it's worth $15 billion. So you are helping a lot of people make money if you practice this kind of thing. And you're destroying yourself and you're destroying the relationships that you have. Another industry that benefits from this kind of practice, toys, the toy industry. In 2015, this specific toy industry, not all toy industries, was valued at 21 billion. And it will be worth 29.07 billion by 2020. Some people are raking in a lot of money. When you buy those products, you lock yourself in the room and you have an affair with yourself. Somebody is eating. Somebody is living very well when you do that. And you won't be able to you will develop those avoidance attachment and the other kind of attachment problem, but they won't care because they are raking in the money. Here's an interesting stat that I found. 52% of women in Australia are the main procurers of these toys. 48% of men in Australia procure them. So the women in Australia, yeah. 41.6% of the women in France procure these toys. 58, not, okay, I'm saying percentages in terms of the people who procure, not the population. Like 58.4% of the people who procure these toys in France are men. In the UK, it's almost 50-50, right? 78% of women who have used or use these toys are now in a relationship. So you can imagine how that relationship is. When somebody is always fearing that they will be abandoned or is afraid of being too close in that relationship. And we wonder why relationships have a problem. Why the rates of divorce are increasing. And men in future, they'll have these problems because perhaps they can't perform, perhaps they'll have low sperm count, low sperm motility, all of those problems. But somebody is raking in 21 billion by 2015. That will be 29 billion by 2020. Another industry that's benefiting from this kind of activity is the sexual performance industry. The ones that are supposed to enhance your sexual performance. Remember, one industry is encouraging you to watch this kind of stuff or to have an affair with yourself while watching these kind of things. Yes, and they are raking a lot of money. Another industry is providing you with the toys that you need to have an affair with yourself, right? And now another industry, knowing that ultimately what we desire is a physical connection with another person, not with toys, then they'll provide you with enhancement drugs or things. So they are there from you from the beginning, and they're there with you till the end, destroying you with every turn or with every step, right? So what does this industry do? Viagra alone, it's worth $3 billion. And there's so many drugs like it. There's Cialis, there's Levitra, and then there are also gels worth billions. I don't have an entire estimate of the industry, but Viagra alone is worth $3 billion. So you can imagine all these others put together. And then now we have generic ones being made in India. A funny thing about this kind of stuff that they always lie about, right? These things, they do not cure the problem. They lead to dependency on those drugs, such that when you start using them, then you won't be able to do anything without them. It's like the seeds in the ones that you procure. Let's say this GMO seeds. You need to buy those seeds again and again because you can't replant with them. The same thing with these drugs. Once you start using them, you can't be able to do it on your own. So now they've locked you in. And they were there with you from the beginning, encouraging you to watch this and watch that, providing you with the toys to do this and do that as you watch, and now locking you in completely, destroying your life, but raking in a lot of money while doing it. Remember love, remember mercy. Are these guys loving? Are they merciful? Do they care about what they do to other people? Now, there are lies that people tell. And I need to get to those. Because we have seen what the researchers have said. But this guy says something else. Remember, they rake in a lot of cash. And they say something else. Let me start with the first one. The website, like what most people do, because this thing, there is something, somebody called Evans. He does Marriage Today, Family TV at 10 p.m. every day. I recommend you to watch it. And he said, you cannot sin alone. And this research proves that you cannot sin alone. Because every time you do this kind of practice, every time you have an affair with yourself, there's an impact on your psychological and on your physical state. And it has an impact on your relationship with others, especially that romantic or that, spousal relationship. People try to research about these issues. They go online, right? And they search for like benefits, like disadvantages, like health effects. And they'll get studies, not necessarily, let's say studies or points from certain kinds of people, including Healthline, the one that I'm going to do today, right? Healthline, when you go to their website, right, this is what they'll tell you. That this practice, it boosts your mood. It helps you feel pleasure. It helps you better understand your wants and needs. And it sounds reasonable. Who would not want their mood boosted? Who would not want to feel pleasure? Who would not want to understand their wants and needs? But there's something else that they don't tell you, right? Yes, let me give you this one. Healthline is based in San Francisco, right? San Francisco is the home of Hollywood, right? And we all know that Hollywood is the home of liberal ideology. And liberals, these are the kind of things that they support. They support abortion, they support masturbation, and all of those other things, right? Right now in San Francisco, somebody had to build an app to warn people that there are syringes, needles for drugs around the city, so that when you see a needle, you go into the app, and then guys would try and avoid that area, or they would call somebody to pick up those needles. Yeah, California is kind of like dying. There's net migration outside of California, right? And it's dying because of these fallacies, these lies. They don't have research to back it up, right? And so what they do have mostly is statements. One statement, second statement, third statement. And statements to make you feel good. Not statements that are actually factual. Because boost your mood. How would it boost your mood, right? Like it would help you feel pleasure, as opposed to the others. What would they make you feel? And what happens after you feel pleasure, right? To better understand your wants and needs. They don't tell you that once you do that, you lock yourself in. Through addiction and through the other kind of industries that are waiting for you to lock yourself in. So that's Healthline. Let me go to another one. Medical News Today. And this is what it says. It improves, this practice improves sex. Yes, that's what it says. Funny thing, this one, Medical News Today, it's owned by Healthline Media UK. And the other one that I got, it was from where? Healthline. They have offices in the United States, the United Kingdom, and Taiwan. And here's something that they say that people need to check. These guys have sponsored content sections. The money is important. They say that sponsored content is clearly marked. So we already know that, yes, money is a factor. But they justify themselves by saying that all their sponsored content is marked. And I want to go back to something. They call it stealth marketing. And in this kind of marketing, what happens, right, is it's a strategy where you're marketing a product to people without them knowing that you're marketing it to them. Another way that people do, especially when it comes to online, right, is that they hire people to start up websites, to start up blogs. And if they have a bad product, let's say like their product causes this disease, they hire people to have like a clickbait headline. Is this drug bad? So people come, research, and check that article. And at the end of that article, you'd find that they've done some kind of mediocre kind of thing. And then at the end of it, they say it's not bad. But in your head, the person who's searching for that information, you'll feel, because you want that thing to be true, you'll feel that there's some research to it. It's stealth marketing. It's how they play with people. Like if you have these websites that do certain kinds of stuff, part of their website would be like why this thing is good. You'd actually have websites that have all these kind of things. They are when you go to websites, you'll find websites that have benefits of masturbation, that have benefits of watching pornography, that have benefits of, which is the other one, of those so many things, right? Oh yeah, the other one of switching your partners. What's the name of that? Swinging, right? And they develop it because they know they want to feed into your ego, and they want to make it feel as though when you give in to your emotions or to your body, they want you to feel as though you have researched and you find it's okay. So it's okay, right? Stealth marketing. You're being marketed to without knowing that somebody's marketing to you. For those who have done this online stuff, the online writers, the freelancers, you know that these things are true because we have written articles on these things, right? So anyway, let's go back. There's the Sperm Bank of California, and this is what the Sperm Bank of California says, that this practice, it benefits your immune system, that this practice, it leads to good health, and it reduces prostate cancer. That this they say that recent research study suggests that it reduces risk of prostate cancer. They say that it fights depression and that it releases your mood, right? They say that you can earn some extra income from it, that you can give life to other people, like that's a sperm bank, so you can go there, do your stuff, and give life. And then it's the ultimate practice of safe sex, because there are no sexually transmitted diseases or pregnancy. And then, yes. So these are from the Sperm Bank of California. And this is something that you'll notice. This bank is trying to get clients to come to practice this kind of thing and to leave them with sperm so that they can sell to other people who are also lonely. Because of what? Because of certain things like this one. So it's a cycle that keeps going on, and somebody's eating from it. Somebody's sponsoring stuff for it, for you to lock yourself in a life that's detrimental, loneliness and depression. And if you've watched my article, this is what you'd usually find, that when people advocate for something negative, they develop this art. It's an art of imitation, and it's an art of using twisting or inverting a true argument. Because we've already found that prostate cancer, right, it results when you have erectile dysfunction and you're masturbating. It likely lead to prostate cancer. So these guys are trying to twist that and to say recent research study. Because when they say that, then they're legally okay. And then when they use the word suggest, then you're legally okay. But you've planted some seed into somebody. Oh, so it doesn't cause prostate cancer. I can keep doing this. You get that idea? And this is what it does. It's all about the money at the end of the day for these guys. And they'll lie to you. They'll tell you that you are giving people the gift of life. See how happy you'll make other families. It's trying to make you, because inherently we have that eternal law, and I've spoken about that a bit, and we know when something is wrong. So all that they have to do, all that somebody has to do, is to help us justify that wrong so we can give in to our desires. And now we'll have a justifiable basis. But when you do the research, we found that it's wrong. And we find that those advocating for it, or those that are trying to support it, there's some hidden agenda. There's somebody somewhere behind them. And that person is benefiting. So let's go to Planned Parenthood. This is the last one. This is what they say, that it reduces sexual tension, it reduces your stress, it helps you sleep better. Yeah, they actually say that. It improves your self-esteem, yes, and body image, and it helps you treat sexual problems, and it relieves menstrual cramps and muscle tension. So this is Planned Parenthood. So what they're doing, they're really targeting the women. Again, you remember that research that was focusing on women, Brody and Kostra. What they found was that it had really, really negative effects on women. So these guys are trying to show that it has really, really positive effects on women. But they don't have research to back it up, right? And we all know about Planned Parenthood. Masturbation is a disordered practice, because we all want somebody to be with us. But when there are certain, we find that we believe that there are certain restrictions to that, then now we go for this other thing. So it's not part of the order that it should be there. The order is to find a spouse or to find somebody. When Planned Parenthood advocates for certain things, this kind of things, it's advocating for it because it already supports a disordered kind of practice, which is abortion. And they know that when masturbation, it would lead to other additional disorders. Because when people give in to their sexual pleasures when they're young, because they usually target kids again through, I think it's Teen Vogue in the United States, I'm not really sure, then those teens would most likely have babies when they're young. And now since they have a disordered idea of sex and all those kind of things, then they'd be more open to abortion. And abortion is a big industry. I think it's a billions in the US, billions of dollars in the US, right? And it's something, it's like using needles at first. The drugs, somebody who's trying to get into drugs, they only need you to get to use it once, twice, and thrice. And after that, you're going on a roller coaster. They don't even have to push you. You'll do it yourself. And at first you might think, yo, I'm using a clean needle. But at the end of it, you'll be using a dirty needle. And the first time you'll use a dirty one, you'll say, it's okay, I haven't died. Then you'll keep doing that. So when you start moving towards a disordered practice, you'll end up exactly where Planned Parenthood wants you to end up. And they'll benefit from you. So remember love again. Remember mercy. Are these guys loving? Are they merciful when they encourage all these kind of things? So let me go to the final part. How do you overcome it? I personally don't have kind of like some, the one answer that would get you to overcome it. But I have something that somebody said around 2000 years ago. And this is what this person said. You will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. Once you know that this thing is a problem, and you have research to back it up, so that when people say you're being religious, take away religion from me, you can actually give them the scientific evidence. And once these other guys come with their statements that make you feel good, statements that you actually want to accept, then you can ask them if there's anything behind those statements. Is there anybody benefiting from those statements? Who is behind that company that's giving those statements? Is it the porn industry? Is it the toy industry? Is it the performance industry, the sexual performance industry? Who is benefiting from it? Is it Planned Parenthood? Is it a spam bank? If they have cause to benefit from it, and when they come with statements as opposed to valid research, then you need to think twice. And the good thing with the truth, that's why there's usually a 12-step program to overcoming alcoholism. And within that program, the first step is acceptance. There is power in accepting the truth. Accept it. Not simply because it's what religions advocate for, but because the research proves that this thing is wrong. Because inherently, you don't want to do this thing. And because you now know that the guys who are advocating for this thing, there's something behind them. And they don't have valid research to support their arguments. Speak the truth as well. When you speak it, it becomes a part of you. It grows within you. And there's something they call, in the act of contrition, most Catholics would know this one, avoid the near occasion of sin. In this case, avoid the near occasion of masturbating. Don't look at pornographic sites. Take them away. Magazines, the sites, whatever, avoid them as much as possible. Avoid certain programs that encourage you, that, invoke some feelings within you. Avoid them. Occupy your time. Make sure that when you go to sleep, you are so tired that there's nothing else you can do but sleep. And then focus on your marriage. Do not focus on an affair with yourself. Focus on moving towards marriage. Another thing that I'd add, fall in love with yourself. You now know all these negative impacts that come with this kind of thing. If you truly loved yourself, would you hurt yourself? Love conquers everything. It does. And it will motivate you to conquer this habit. It will support you when you're trying to avoid those programs, when you're trying to avoid pornography, when you're trying to avoid all those other things. And remember that guys would be searching for you to watch that kind of thing, because they're benefiting from it. Guys would be searching for you, telling you, whoa, you can go for 4 hours. Because they'll eat from whatever you're doing. You need to fill certain voids within you, right, with other kinds of stuff. there is the physical self. That's okay. And it's pushing you towards a certain direction. What about the spiritual self? Can't you feed that? If you love yourself, you'd be feeding that. And there is power in doing so. So love yourself. And if you did, you wouldn't be doing what you're doing. If you're doing that, right? So there's another one. Fall in love with somebody for who they are. You need to do that. And it's very, very important. If you love somebody for, let's say, the sexual pleasure that they give you, your focus will continue to be on sex. And it will follow you into the marriage. And you will fall. You need to love people for who they are. And if you develop that love for yourself, you'd realize there's something more in yourself than your physical self. And you now want to recognize that in others. You'd long to recognize that in others. And if you don't, you will fall in future. And whatever ills that you have right now, they'll follow you into your marriage. If you find somebody who doesn't love you, that's also a problem. Because if that person focuses on sex only, then you're back to square one. Because they'd be pressuring you to do this and to do that, to do this and to do that. And eventually, you won't be able to do that. Or perhaps you don't want to do that. Or perhaps now you want to focus on your spiritual self, but now you have to focus on this. Because this other person is focused on that. And once again, it will lead to loneliness and depression. And if that person now starts feeling that you're not living up to the expectations, and they never develop that love for somebody else, then what do you think will happen next? Won't it be an affair? Won't they leave you? And if you are that person, won't you have an affair? Won't you leave them when they can't do that? And even if you won't leave them or you won't have an affair, will you ever find that ability to develop yourself other than your physical self? Will you ever ignite that spiritual self that is within you if throughout your life you and your partner are focusing on one thing? Somebody is benefiting. They're looking for you to watch. They're trying to give you stuff so that you can use as you watch. And then they know that inherently we all want a connection with somebody else. So now they're selling us stuff, telling us that we have that stuff. Those guys will love us more. Or it will build us more. Remember love, remember mercy. Have love for yourself. Have patience with those guys who are going through that kind of stuff. I think I'll stop on that today. Please suggest topics in the comment section in this YouTube, right? In the comment sections on Facebook. Anywhere else you can reach me, because I actually got this topic on WhatsApp, right? Share the video. Do not hide a light where there is darkness. If there is some enlightenment in this video, then share it. Thank you to all my 812 subscribers. Nawapenda wote. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Encourage people to subscribe as well. A sweater is 500 bob as always. And then the last part, this one will become a phrase as we go on. Pray for me that I may not flee for fear of the wolves. In other words, I may not stop doing this, what I'm doing, because some people may be negative or might approach me negatively or might respond negatively. Pray for me that I may not flee for fear of the wolves. It's a quote from Pope Benedict. I'll finish. Remember love, remember mercy. I'll see you guys on Monday. Take care. God bless.